all right, every week you get back in it on Sunday and you try to build off the things that you did well. And certainly, there, especially early in the year, there's always a lot of things that you need to improve on. And, it certainly is always better to be able to do it after a win. But for us, I think the reality of it is that, there's still a lot of progress to be made early in the year to be the team that we want to be. And we gotta do it with urgency, particularly this week, getting ready to play a really impressive Missouri team. I was proud of our team last week in the response. It'd have been really easy to feel sorry for yourselves, after week one and having a game that certainly didn't go the way you expected. And truthfully, a game that we had a lot of opportunities to win the game and we didn't take advantage of it. Knowing McNeese the way I know him and Coach Viator, I knew that if we didn't show up ready to go, though, it was going to be, it was going to be something that could have really damaged the rest of our year. So I was proud of our kids, the way they responded. And certainly, the way they played. I thought we took advantage of an opportunity there at the end of the first half that really kind of put the game, gave us a 10-point advantage going into halftime. And from there, felt like we were in pretty good control of things throughout the rest of the game. And then really proud of the way we finished. So, I think offensively, the bright spot ran the ball really effectively. And I thought all 11 guys involved in that did their job really well. Quarterback and from wide out to wide out and everybody in between. Talked about it. We got to continue to work on precision in the passing game. It seems like, quarterback might be a little off when the route's really good or the route's a little deep or not as crisp whenever the quarterback is on time. So it's just some little things here and there that we're going to work through. Defensively, I thought we played, again, really physical against the run. I think they had some RPO things that showed up that we're going to have answers for because that's what people are going to they're going to watch the tape and say, well, this is how we're going to go about attacking their run defense. So got to make some adjustments there and play well. But thought we played really physical and really hard. And then on special teams, we cleaned up some of the penalties and things that hurt us. Obviously missed a couple kicks there. One of them I would say was fringy. I mean, really long kick into the wind. But, overall, I thought special teams continued to play at a high level. So that's a bright spot. Got to build off of. But there's a lot of work for us to do. I mean, in week 2, we're not the team we want to be yet. I think we're on the way to it. We've just got to keep making improvement week after week.
When you watch the film, the passing yards you gave up, and you gave up a few big plays, was it they did a good job, or what was the issue?
Well, I mean, it's always 50-50. Like, I'm not going to sit here and, they had a good plan, and their quarterback executed well. We said going into it, I thought the quarterback had a really good control of their offense and what they're trying to do. So he's going to the right spot with the ball. A lot of it was on RPO throws. And I don't think we did the best job of squeezing and competing at corner, to be honest with you on it. Those glance throws are the ones that kill you on these RPOs, because when you hit a glance, first of all, it's about an 8-yard route. They're catching it about 12 on the run. And if you're not squeezing and competing on the ball, that 12-yard catch turns into a 50-yard catch on the first play of the game, right? So, good design by them, but certainly, at corner, we got to squeeze and compete at times better. There were plenty of reps where we did compete well, and we had PBUs and all that stuff, but there were some of them that really hurt us on there. So I think it's good design by them. They get you in the run fit, and we're going to commit to the run. We're going to stop the run, but we got to compete a little bit better on some of those glance throws.
So talk about, you have 2 more games and you're playing a conference game. It seems like how important, where are you in getting who are our starting cornerbacks and how is that rotation working? And that seems like that's something that's got to get done over these next 2 games.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, I mean, these next 2 games, we got to figure it out. We got to hit stride when we get to week 5, right, when you start conference. So, I mean, I don't know that it's ever just done, until someone goes out there and takes control of a position. We had a couple more guys in the mix last night. Some of it was good, some of it wasn't. We're going to continue to evaluate and continue to push competition there. But the reality of it is you need more than just 2 guys playing good. I mean, that's the bottom line. Throughout the course of the year, you're going to need more than that. So got to continue to develop those guys and get them. It's a lot. Cornerback is so much confidence, man, and trusting what you see, and playing ball, man, and pulling the trigger and going. When you hesitate, bad things happen there. You're going to get beat every now and then. That's the nature of the position. And the hard part is everyone on the field knows you got beat. I mean, everyone in the stadium knows. Sorry. got to be able to bounce back and go play. Can't lose confidence. So, we just got to get those guys to continue to play with some confidence. And the way that happens, you keep playing, you make some plays, and that's how you gain confidence. But yeah, I mean, certainly we gotta get it figured out by the time we get to Marshall.
What's the message for Daniel going into a big week like this, sold out crowd, and to a top 25 matchup?
It's football. It's football. I think, the only thing that really matters is what happens between the white lines. And I think if you start getting into all these other things, and who you're playing and the environment and all these other things, it becomes more than football. And at the end of the day, it's 11 on 11. You got to know what the opponent's doing. We have to have an understanding of what they're doing and a mastery of what we're doing, and you got to go operate. Daniel's not going to win or lose this game by himself. He's going to have to go do his job, and we're going to have to play well around him. I thought we did a better job Saturday of playing better around him. Made some really tough catches in the game on Saturday that, we didn't make some easy ones the previous week. So, that's an improvement, getting going in the right direction. We got to continue to play well around the quarterback. I don't care who you play if you want a chance to win.
Is you got 13 guys with a catch, only 2 of them have more than 2. Is that kind of an indication that those roles are still up for grabs for somebody to go take it in the receiver room? Yeah.
We've always played quite a few guys. I don't know that right now. You're sitting there saying, all right, this is who you got to get it to. It's, Kevin kind of brought it up. Right now you got to figure out who the guys you can depend on are. You think you know who it is coming out of camp. You get in the season, and then once you get into games, you got to confirm it, right? And you got to get all that stuff figured out by the time you get to conference, because the reality of it is, you want to play in the conference championship, those are the ones that matter. But you got to go and you got to make improvement. You got to have guys that are stepping up. And I thought we had some guys that played a lot better in the throw game Saturday. When you go back and watch it, got to continue to do that.
Offensive line, did the rotation work very similar to the first, or what did they do better than the first game?
Yeah, it was the same rotation. The first game when we ran for 6 a carry, this game we ran for 7 a carry. So, it's been pretty good both games. I know the yards are the yards and all that stuff, but, the first game we were in positions where it didn't feel like we could just run the ball, just kind of by the way the game was going. You end up, 2nd and 16, you got to figure out a way to try to get back on schedule. I thought we stayed ahead of the sticks more consistently this past week. Still had some penalties that hurt us at times, but I thought we overcame them a little bit better than the week before. The rotation was the same. I thought our guys played really well. I thought they played and strained really hard, all the way through the whistle. And that was something that we challenged them to do. And, from the first play of the game where Zylan rips the 40-something yard run all the way to the last play where, Steve-O breaks it for a touchdown, I thought our offensive line played with an attitude and a demeanor that if you want to be really good running the football, you got to play with that type of mindset. And I think that it's a good group. I've said that from the beginning. I think they have a chance to be really good up front all year. I thought the mindset and the effort and the strain was on a different level than it probably was week 1, to be honest with you.
This is your first time the team's going on the road this year. Whenever it comes to them loading up this weekend at the end of the week to head to Columbia, what's the one thing that you want them to take with them from Lafayette over to Missouri?
Well, you try to create just a consistency in that routine, and we do travel naturally on Friday, but once we get to the hotel, it's the same routine, and that's what you want them to just continue to create consistency in the routine. I think consistency in performance comes from consistency in the habits that you have day after day. And we talk a lot about that. The things that you did to prepare yourself to play, and you play well, repeat it. If you didn't perform the way that you want to, we'll tweak that process to continue to get yourself ready to play better. And I think that's why we try to do the same basic routine on Friday, whether it's home or away. Once you get to the hotel, it's the same, and it all kind of gears up to the game. Naturally, being on the road, you travel that day instead of them going to classes all day. But they're still, it's not like they're here on Friday when they go to class all day and they come here later. So, we're going to have our walkthrough a little bit earlier. We get to the hotel at about the same time. Once you get there, it's all just kind of, falls in line from there. So, the big thing going back to it, it's, listen, playing at home is great, but playing at home, it still comes down to the 11 on 11 on the field, and having a crowd behind you and those things is great. But the reality of it is all that matters is what you're doing from snap to whistle, play after play. So, home, away, the football is the football. We just try to create a consistent routine for our players so that they can go out there and, be ready to play and feel like everything's kind of falling in line. So that way it just kind of, it triggers all the mental cues to get ready to go and go play.
Missouri offensively, what is it that they do that is obviously giving teams trouble? I mean, what is it that they do so well?
It's everything right now. Yeah, I mean they're huge up front. They've got there's an SEC O-line. They look like it. They've got really good running backs. Their quarterback can drive the ball down the field. He's made really good decisions. He's made some big plays. Last week in that Kansas game, it was a tight game, and whenever they needed him, he came up with big plays. I think he can hurt you with his legs, but he runs the offense really well. We're familiar with Coach Drinkwitz a little bit from a few years back. And it's a similar formula to win. They're going to run the football. They're going to throw play actions and nakeds and stuff like that off of it. They're going to take shots down the field. You better have them covered because they got some wideouts that can really go. They've got really good tight end play. I mean, this is a good football team, a really good team. So, I've said it from the beginning. I think we have a chance to be a good team this year. We'll find out exactly where we are this week. On defense, we've been really physical. We've stopped the run. We've done those things. We'll find out this week, if we're really that type of team or not, because it's a good group.
You get more from familiarity with a player like Ahmad Hardy, having played him with ULM, or the coaching staff that you talked about with Drinkwitz?
I don't know. You still got to stop him. So, no, I mean, Ahmad Hardy is a hell of a running back. I mean, and he's on a really good team, and he is doing a really good job. I think Coach Drinkwitz does a really good job. I think everything looks the same. Their run sets, the play action shots, the nakeds match up off the run set. They do a really good job. It's well designed. It's a well coached football team. Coach Batoon is the defensive coordinator. He was at South Alabama when Coach Womack was over there. I think he does an awesome job too, man. They mix up man and zone. They get their safeties in the run fit. They've got really good safeties. It's a well put together team. It's a talented team, and it's well coached. I mean, you're going to play an SEC team on the road. Like, you better show up and better have your best. And and that's what we're going to do this week is we're going to prepare and we're going to show up on Saturday and we're going to give them our best.
Do they blitz and pressure a lot, or what is kind of their style?
They don't. No, they don't. They've got a good front. They're big on the inside. They're long on the edges. They let those guys play. They'll move the front a little bit. Coach Early is the edges coach for them. He was a D-line coach at Arkansas State for years when they had all those really good pass rushers and really good defensive lines. So he does a good job. They'll stunt and move the front a little bit, not a ton. They just play ball, man. They play really good ball. They know where their issues are. They run to the football. They'll mix up man and zone so you don't get a bunch of easy. You think you start getting it pegged. Next thing you know, the zone look turns into man, and they're contesting everything. They'll play zone where they have eyes on the quarterback and in the backfield at times. They do a really good job. It's good football. I mean, honestly, you watch them play, and it's good technique, good players playing hard, running the football. It's a good football team.